Hey everybody, Kyle Flaherty with Mike Hamilton. It's right here? Right here? Okay, perfect. We are coming to you live from 21CT headquarters in Austin, Texas, yet again for Take a Look Live. Today we're going to be talking about Futbol.
You mean soccer?
You probably call it soccer. Mike is...
I'm from Texas. It's soccer.
But we're in a new room. I think people can tell because we weren't ready with the height. We got a monitor. Our booth is still on its way to ACFE. We're going to be there. Thank you to ACFE for giving us a shout out on Twitter, 21CT Inc., and we'll be live tweeting all of this stuff. So what we wanted to talk about today was, because I don't know if you've heard of it, World Cup is going on. We have been watching it. In fact, there should be a game on right now. I think Spain is playing right now.
And they actually even broadcasted in Texas.
They do. They broadcast it all over the world, which is strange. Right.
That is strange.
Global broadcasting. So we wanted to talk a little bit about analytics in football. We've talked about it in football. And we were doing some research in terms of soccer. And so we've talked about 538 before, and that's one of the first articles that we'll hit on. Nate Silver, pretty famous. He may have been one of our analytic, dudes of the week at some point. Maybe not. He should be at some point. So take some notes, folks. But 538 is doing some amazing stuff. And so if you actually look at the screen, I keep pointing behind me, but you're looking at it on, they went through and statistically looked at the best kind of probability for every team, not only just to win the whole thing, but getting out of the group. And it's also one of the coolest visualizations of analysis I've ever seen. I mean, like, you look at
the weighted
so if you
arrows
scroll over like Cameroon, it will show you the different kind of the different things. So go to Cameroon and no, you see Cameroon right there
under Brazil,
Group A. So if you go over there and actually click on those guys, it's showing you dynamically all of their stuff. And that one got updated obviously overnight because Brazil won 3-1 against Croatia on a horrible penalty kick call, but that's for another episode. So we were checking that out. You don't know. I mean,
I don't know very little. I know very little about soccer.
But you know a lot about analytics and you know a lot about visualization.
I do.
I thought that was pretty cool.
No. It's. I mean, the one of the most overlooked things in visualization and analytics is simply the weighting of the line. Right. I don't know why I pick up on that. When I see that, it's like, oh, I can clearly see big thick green line. Okay, that's good.
Well, that's
a red line.
And if you
look
at
X,
right,
okay,
and if you even think of it, in our own product, just seeing a thicker line to, if it's in cyber, to different hosts, if it's in healthcare fraud, to a provider, to a bank account or whatever, and there's just the thickness of that line tells me, oh, I should pay attention to that.
It's just like intuitively, I know exactly what that's telling me. There's no words necessary.
Right.
I just get it.
They also did a good job, and this is really the HTML5 that they're kind of deploying, is the movement of the line and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought that was pretty cool. If you go into the group or past the group stage into the whole thing, I think they say Brazil has a 45% chance of winning the entire thing. They have a 50-50 chance of winning the whole thing. Like, that's a bizarre notion if you think about it. No NFL team has a 50-50 shot of winning the Super Bowl.
After 2 games have been played, right?
Right.
Or 3, or how many games were played?
There's 3 games in the group, and then it's 4.
Well, I mean, in the entire thing, after they won, because they were the first game, right?
Oh, right. I actually don't know if the 45% got updated. That's interesting. I think it was 45% before to win it all. I don't know if that would. That
would have
change.
to change after the. Once you've actually locked in that first.
Now, the knockout stage.
They won the first game was like 98%. It probably only fractionally.
Yeah,
changes.
so maybe that was it because they were supposed to really. So if you hit a knockout stage, so it's 45%. Yeah, maybe that did change. Now maybe it changed, like you said. Maybe it went to 44 to 45.
Wait, in breaking news, USA only has a less than 1% chance of winning.
The whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, their coach said it's unrealistic that the United States would win the World Cup. He told the New York Times that.
Way to set the bar low.
So, no, but, I think... So, do you know how many countries have won the World Cup?
That's like, what, less than 10, probably.
8.
8?
Yeah. I mean, that's remarkable if you think about it. But there's only 12 countries in the world, I think. It might be more than that. I'm not sure.
I think there's a new one yesterday.
Everyone was like...
Well, there's Texas.
Is he serious?
The U.S.
Right. So in this Croatia and Brazil.
Right.
So we pretty much.
Well, in Ghana, because I know they might have beat us once or twice.
So there was another article that we pulled up. I think this is the one around the Sloan conference, and we've talked about MIT Sloan, the athletic analytics conference before. But you said you were actually starting to listen to it.
Yeah, so I was
from
watching,
last year.
Yeah,
maybe?
I was watching the panel.
It's the next one actually.
And I was actually watching one of the panels. This one, it was actually moderated by Mark Stein, the NBA
Steiny Mo.
And it's actually the third year in a row that they've done this.
The one on
the specific
football.
The specific football
Thank
panel.
you.
See?
Wow.
I got the accent.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was interesting that of the, I think, last 7 years they've done that conference. Only the last 3 years has there been a specific soccer panel. But one of the interesting things that I believe it was Chris Anderson at Cornell was talking about was that soccer was, in his opinion, one of the first sports doing analytics.
Yep.
Which is interesting because if you think about baseball, and yes, Bill James, sort of the baseball analytical
60s and 70s kind
guy,
of 80s.
But baseball's been collecting information since, you can go back and look at ERAs from 1897.
Right.
So it was just interesting that I heard that and sort of latched on to, okay, that's not exactly right. Now, maybe soccer was the first to actually apply the information in terms of making useful decisions about who to play in what positions.
And then what you just did was define the difference between statistics and analytics, right?
It was strategic.
Well, I think that, so if you look at, and this is why Bill James had to do what he had to do, right, was ERA, runs batted in, all those traditional things in baseball. That was a great barometer of, is Mike Hamilton a better player than Kyle Flaherty? Because you had more home runs than I did, and we played the same position, whatever. But those are just statistics. That's all it was. And then you could do some analysis over time, of course, blah, blah, blah. And analytics says, I want to take those statistics, I want to take different data, I want to look at all of these things and ask a question of the data so that I can make a decision based on it. In your words, apply it to the field.
Right.
And perhaps, I honestly don't know, perhaps soccer was the first to do that. I was reading up on pass percentages to different spots of the field and what people do better, and that kind of Jurgen Klinsmann, the U.S. coach, has a diamond kind of midfield and how he does that, and that's based on the analytics they run of how his players can pass.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty remarkable attribute.
Yeah. So,
but just because you scored 40 goals doesn't mean.
Well, and you're getting to something that I think is important is that ERA or batting average. Those are almost statistics that are reporting after the fact metrics, where from the analytics perspective, I wouldn't necessarily call them predictive, but people are actually making strategic decisions based on that. Okay.
Because I have a better chance of impacting the game based on it.
Right. Okay, yes, whether or not a pitcher makes a team for the next year may be based on his ERA from the previous year.
Right.
But that's not the same as these 8 guys together have a collective set of statistics that not necessarily predict, but presumably give me a better chance of winning a game because of the different things they bring to the table collectively versus looking at a single metric.
Yeah. Well, I think nothing can predict whether you're going to win a game or not,
absolutely.
right? We all know that, but
that's why they play the games.
But you can predict outcomes over. Thank you. Your respect for football in this session has been amazing.
Yes.
I thank you. I feel better, and I'm sure the American Outlaws, the official fan club of the USMNT, thanks you as well. But I'm so into this World Cup, it's ridiculous. But I will say, I don't even know what I was talking about at this point because I was just so impressed with all of the stuff that you just said.
He is a football coach.
I am a football coach.
He does football coach.
We lost in the World Cup this year.
But so I want to take a step back and going back to something I said. Given that this is the World Cup.
It is.
This is the most popular sport on the planet by a mile.
It is.
It dwarfs everything else.
By a mile.
And of this ridiculously intelligent, smart people conference for 7 years.
Yes.
Only for the last 3 years.
So, all right, and that is a good point. But does that speak more to America than it does to the conference?
Absolutely. It speaks exactly to the American-centric thinking in football, baseball, and football as an afterthought.
In my whole life, the threat has been this is the next generation is going to be the generation that takes us, and I feel more confident in that in this. I think the Sloan one shows that. I think that's part of the fact that they know that this is a super important element overall. The other thing to consider, of course, is money. Right. I mean, you look at the amount of money now the LA Galaxy are making, that like all the MLS teams are making, and now paying. Like Michael Bradley went to Toronto for a huge amount of money. This is a kid who is doing well in Europe, the best player in the history of American soccer. Yeah, I said it. Landon Donovan is not on that list. Tweet me. And I think
what about Freddie?
This Freddie who?
Isn't there
a do?
Yeah. Oh, come on. I was so sure I knew a name.
The fact that he knows that is, I guess, good. Tim Howard.
Well, Beckham.
Do you know who Tim Howard is?
How much did Beckham come play for?
Yeah, a ton.
Right. Yeah, that's a little
and it was at the end of his career.
Right.
But that was like Pele in the 70s when he came to the Metro Stars. You don't remember that. So there's only 2 people in this room who remember that. And they're on this side, and you can't see one of them. But, I think that the analytic momentum and the ability to do the analysis and spark debates, that's part of why people love baseball. That's part of why people love sports in general in America. So the more that you can do that, I think the more it will be accepted.
Well, my favorite player is better than your favorite player. Oh,
right.
Well, then now it's the numbers tell me that I'm right and you're wrong.
Yep.
Of course, you can argue I can make my numbers look
right. But that's the fun of it.
That's the fun.
Right, exactly. And that's why if you're going to be a good sports fan, you should probably get a really good degree in analysis at this point.
You should definitely go to MIT and get a degree in math.
Yes, I was going to go there, but I decided not to. I said no, I will not go there. No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. All right, so we're probably past 15 minutes at this point. But a few other things overall in terms of what's going on there. Bloomberg had a metric of ranking all the teams, and I went through probably 6 or 7 different ones. And they all use different metrics in terms of how they do this, but unequivocally, and I'm going to get to a point here, Brazil is the number 1 in every single one. Not a surprise. They've won 5 World Cups, more than anybody else. It's in Brazil, all those things. But then you watch this team play yesterday, and quite frankly, they got lucky to get out of there with a win. It probably would have been a draw. Maybe they would have scored that second goal without the penalty kick, but you could tell the pressure of being number 1 statistically and analytically is probably weighing on this team. And Neymar, their best player, probably more so than anyone. Now he scored in the first half, so that probably helps him. But it's funny how numbers and analysis can actually impact the human behavior that we have out there overall.
Yeah, it's like these analytics are taking the data that exists, but it doesn't take into account that factor. It's when you're the big dog on the street, you're getting everyone's best shot every game. It's not like the second or third team may actually have some sort of statistical edge in some factors purely because they're like, oh, well, you're the second or third best team. You're not. You're not getting my best shot. You're getting my second or third best shot.
Well, and I think too is you do all this analysis. When you do that, you actually influence the human behavior. So if I tell you, Mike, you have an 80% chance of, getting in a car accident today on your way home, that will affect the way that you drive. In a good or a bad way. You may become more defensive, you may become whatever it is. And by the way, that's not true. I did not do that analysis.
Right, and I only have a 5-minute commute. The opportunity.
See, when you start talking like that.
Well, with your hour commute, you're just jealous.
I live a mile more, which is.
It takes another hour.
I know. Anyhow, that's really not the point. So, all right. I don't have an analyst of the week. I don't have a statistician of the week. I just have the best pair of guys you got to follow if you want to follow soccer in general, football in general, World Cup, American team, whatever it is, Men in Blazers. So at Men in Blazers, these 2 dudes just they remind me of 2 other really famous kind of broadcasters ourselves.
I thought you were going there.
They're very similar to us. But we're not wearing blazers. Maybe we should.
We should wear blazers next week.
We should do men in something. I don't know what it will be. Hats. Top hats?
I can do a top hat.
Ooh, monocles. Men in monocles. Monocle men. We'll be the monocle men. I like it.
The theme will be analytics and Monopoly for next week.
Ooh, I like that.
How to beat your mom in Monopoly using analytics.
Ooh, I like that. That's pretty cool. We can do some aggregate analysis of mom's move over time in Monopoly. But I will say these two guys are fantastic to follow if you just like to laugh and you like to be entertained, and you obviously do because you're watching us. They're awesome. So, and I would pay anything for them to retweet that and know that I exist. So that's all.
And invite you for a podcast.
So I will. That would be cool. Like our good folks down in San Antonio next week.
I set you up on that.
Thank you. So who's gonna win the World Cup?
I gotta go with the numbers. And I have no other information than the numbers, so I'm gonna go with the numbers.
USA. USA. I believe that we can win. I totally believe in this team.
I totally believe the analytics tell me.
You want to place a bet?
Yeah,
it can't be for win. All right, do you think they'll get out of the group stage? Because if you look at the analytics, so go back to the 538 one.
This needs to be a new weekly feature.
Yes,
the analytic bet of the week.
So we'll go to the group stage.
And the loser gets to choose what the other wears
and then
on
go
camera
down to group G. All right, click on US, please. All right, 32% chance of moving out of the group. Germany and Portugal have obviously the best chances overall. So I think Portugal is.
We got the defending champions in our.
No, Spain is the defending champions.
Oh, okay.
Germany won it.
That's how much
2 World Cups ago. Portugal is one of the best players.
That's okay. There was a discussion on the radio.
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, they're great teams, right? But 32% chance. I am willing to say they will make it out of the group stage. I'll bet you a 6-pack of your favorite brew.
How about we bet the loser gets to choose what the other wears for the next week? For the next,
including on camera?
On camera for the.
All right. Okay, you heard it here first. USA makes it out of the group. Even though it looks statistically impossible according to
I didn't say
Mr.
statistically impossible. You said who's going to win.
Analytics.
I'm going with the 50% chance.
You choose my what I have to wear for a week at work. Awesome.
Not at work, just on camera.
Okay.
Just
for the episode.
Just for the episode.
All right. Cool. Awesome. Thank you all. We will see you next week on Take a Look live from 21CT. Tweet us at 21CT Inc. And we'll talk to you next week.